pushing her. They're not letting her go. Right, they're not letting the black girl go. We don't have arms. We are students. We don't have arms.
These people left without taking the blacks, man. None of the blacks, man.
There's been a lot of segregation and racism. It seems like there's a hierarchy of Ukrainians first, Indians second, Africans last. So there has been a lot of segregation in that sense. And then amongst the communities trying to flee Ukraine, there's been a lot of violence.
Я тобі зараз скажу, хто я. Привіт! Я зараз цей телефон.
These are the black community. We are not allowing any black people to enter inside the gates. We are all here. It's only Ukrainians that they are allowing in. Even the ones with kids.
हम लोग सब रोमानियन बॉर्डर पे खड़े हैं, रोमानियन यूक्रेनियन बॉर्डर पे। अराउंड 500 to 600 बच्चे हैं। ये लोग यूक्रेनियंस को बहुत प्रेफर कर रहे हैं, यूक्रेनियंस को भी प्रेफरेंस दे रहे हैं, इंडियंस को 1 या 2 निकाल रहे हैं एट अ टाइम।
On est là exposé dehors avec le froid qu'il y a ici. On ne nous donne toujours pas où nous abriter au fait. On est exposé avec le froid.
यहाँ पे ठंड इतनी है कि हम बता नहीं सकते, इतना ठंड, और कुछ शेल्टर नहीं है, वॉशरूम का कोई ये नहीं है, शेल्टर नहीं है, कहीं पे कुछ खाने पीने का कुछ ये नहीं है, रेस्टोरेंट नहीं है, पूरा ओवर क्राउडेड हो गया है।
They are being thrown out of the train. They are not even allowing us in. Indian students are being attacked with sticks and stuff.
We don't have arms. We don't have arms. We don't have arms. We are students. We are students. We are students. Check out your phone. Check out your phone.
Troubling reports about mistreatment of refugees in Ukraine from Africa, India, and the Middle East. Ukraine has tens of thousands of students from overseas now. Many of them are trying to leave, and some of them say they're getting second-class treatment. ABC's Marcus Moore reports.
In the midst of a mass exodus, disturbing reports of racism and violence at the gates of freedom. 1 million people and counting have poured over Ukraine's borders, escaping the scourge of war. It is believed to be the largest number of people displaced in the shortest amount of time since World War II. And the numbers, they keep rising. However, refugees of color from Africa, India, and the Middle East are reporting discrimination.
This is unfair. This is unfair.
I think not all Ukrainians are racist or something, but at the border guys, border soldiers, border police, there was like super racist, I think. And all the black people, Arabic people especially, what I saw, they beat them, they tore their gun to them at night.
Pour qu'on nous mette le cachet de sortie, nous avons passé encore plusieurs heures. Les Ukrainiens ont le droit d'emprunter les bus. Eux, ils sont bien assis, mais nous, on marche à pied. Pour moi, on était choqués.
Et ça a été fait par qui, ça?
Les policiers ukrainiens. Ça, c'est quelque chose on doit dire la vérité.
Ukraine has nearly 80,000 foreign students, most in major cities like Kharkiv, that have been badly hit. The money they spend to attend school has a significant impact on the Ukrainian economy. According to the country's Ministry of Education and Science, each student spends up to $8,000 a year.
On n'était pas venus comme les gens qui venaient qui demandaient, mais nous on était arrivés en Ukraine comme des étudiants étrangers et on payait l'argent, on paye cher.
And yet, in the middle of a humanitarian crisis, these students say they are being treated as others. They're reporting longer wait times in line. On Twitter, the hashtag Africans in Ukraine flooded with videos circulating of police refusing entry onto buses.
It seems like there's a hierarchy of Ukrainians first, Indians second, Africans last.
This is Corinne Sky. She's a British medical student who was living in Ukraine when the invasion began. Her family has reached safety in Romania, but she told us when crossing the border, there was obvious segregation.
They are prioritizing Ukrainian people leaving Ukraine. Students who've come from different countries to get an education for a better life for our families and friends. We're the least of their worries.
Sky has raised nearly $60,000 on her GoFundMe for Africans struggling to get out of Ukraine. Organizers around the world are working with people on the ground to help distribute aid and warn of the potential dangers through apps like Telegram. Even at this train station, adding to the trauma for many of these refugees, the non-white refugees, there was a group of roughly 100 or so who actually marauded through the street, and according to witnesses, they harassed and attacked many of the non-white refugees. There has been no report of injuries, but it does give you a sense of the many layers of this humanitarian crisis that is unfolding here. Countries are now scrambling to help their citizens once they cross the border. India had roughly 20,000 students in Ukraine. Now Russia is aiding the Indian Foreign Ministry in finding safe routes to get the remaining students out. Russian envoys considering a humanitarian corridor to aid students on the ground. This after India abstained from a UN General Assembly vote for a resolution, quote, deploring Russia's aggression. And Nigeria approving $8.5 million to immediately evacuate 5,000 Nigerians. The goal, airlift them to Nigeria. Although there is some criticism about why governments didn't step up sooner. The United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees, Filippo Grandi, has condemned these reports.
At this critical juncture, there can be no discrimination against any person or any group.
However, the Ukrainian government denies any wrongdoing, tweeting, quote, in Ukraine, there is no discrimination based on race, skin color, or nationality, including when it comes to the crossing of the state border by foreign citizens. The first-come, first-served approach applies to all nationalities. Still, there are thousands of stranded foreigners unable to make their way to the border, wondering if they'll ever see their homelands again. But for some of the ones that are able to make it to the border, the horror goes on, as they're met with the ugliest and the worst of humanity.
So now you are taking Ukrainian white people. Why? Are we not people like them?
Thanks to Marcus Moore.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Scenes out of Ukraine show desperate people walking miles in freezing temperatures, cramming onto train station platforms, and waiting hours at the Polish border. Included in that number are thousands of international students who just want to go home. Many of them say that their wish is being delayed or denied because of their skin color. The Ukrainian Ministry of Education reports over 80,000 students come from around the world to study at Ukraine's renowned and relatively inexpensive universities and medical schools. More than 18,000 of these students come from India, over 16,000 from African nations like Morocco, Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa, and many from the Middle East, 158 countries in all. Abira Ahmad Khan was studying medicine in Kyiv when she tried to evacuate. She says border officials held her and other international students back.
They waited for all the Ukrainian people to go out first and then other nationalities.
Abira, who is from Pakistan, says the people in the Ukrainian villages have been kind and given them food, but she believes the poor treatment she and her fellow exchange students received from border officials is because of their nationality and skin color.
On the border, they were preferring Ukrainian people, and we had to wait even more than we should have because of those people, because of racist people.
22-year-old Egyptian student Abdelhamid Ahmed says foreign students were told they would have to pay for their own buses.
Ukrainian people taking bus, and foreign people, except Ukrainian, are going by walking, not taking bus. Too much people walking. Like we walk maybe 40 or 45 kilometers, more than.
Despite the difficulties, Nigerian medical student Lois Kaya says going to the border is his only choice.
By any situation, we need to drain our own country. We cannot stay here. Our university has to talk to people. We are not able to protect you.
Lois' motivation? His mother.
She's waiting for me. She invests her money for my education, so I cannot be blocked in this country. So she's every day crying, why you have you taken your train? I'm watching some video online. What is happening in your country? I say, it's what is it?
In places like India and Nigeria, families are protesting to get their students and loved ones out of a dangerous war zone. Viral videos circulating on social media appear to show African, Middle Eastern, and Indian students treated differently than their European counterparts. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari responded to the videos in a Twitter statement, saying in part, "All who flee a conflict situation have the same right to safe passage under UN Convention, and the color of their passport or their skin should make no difference." Filippo Grandi, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, says there has been a different treatment. There should be absolutely no discrimination between Ukrainians and non-Ukrainians, Europeans and non-Europeans. Everyone is fleeing from the same risks. He says the UN plans to intervene to ensure everyone is treated fairly at the borders. But for now, students from around the world are making harrowing trips through a country currently under attack, trying to make their way home. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm TC Newman.